Well, good morning, and this is my last day in second last day in Rishikesh. Tomorrow I would leave back for Delhi. Um, it's going good. I slept a little late last night as well. I was making some art. I uploaded it on Insta again. Shameless plug-in if you want to follow me on that. I I'm really looking forward to just relaxing today, not loitering around too much. For the past many years since I've been coming to Rishikesh, the one thing that I've done always is just loiter around. This year, what's been substantially different is I haven't felt the need to loiter around. I have really let the place sink in, stay in one place sort of and sink in because I've explored almost everything there is to explore about Rishikesh and even the upward ranges nearby. Um, so yeah. Also, I'm sorry. Also, I am in an extremely introspective space of mind, and I don't think external experiences are going to change any bit of the introspection. Of course, it will add some weight and maybe a new perspective every now and then, but I'm very content. I'm very content with just being here, just going out to the cafe, eating something, just sitting there, just watching the banks of the Ganga, watching the river flow, watching the skies, the blue skies that I've missed in Delhi for the past a month and a half. Delhi had the cleanest skies during the lockdown. It was very, very beautiful. Up to khair, it's back to where it was. So relishing that. How strange of a year has this been that it went by in the blink of an eye? November. Sorry, what's November? Yes, now, and we started in February. February, and it's gone by really, really fast. It almost feels like and I firmly believe in this one actually. I think this year has been a lot of years condensed into one. Like many years worth of things that were supposed to happen simultaneously in one go. So maybe, I don't know, I mean, if you believe in the Terrence Mckenna theories, which is of course something you should look up, um, maybe it's one of those years that acts as some sort of a culmination or just a condensation of a lot of things that were supposed to happen maybe earlier, maybe later, and just condensed into one fucking year. And 2020 has been that year for a lot of people. Uh, it's been a tremendously awakening year. It's been the year of constant reminding of impermanence. I think impermanence is really what was my eureka moment. I think after seeing whatever I saw in life, the amount of deaths and things like that, um, I think 2020 was the eureka moment. I think there was just too much doom and gloom to actually avoid even thinking about it. You could be in a positive space of mind and all of that, of course, but I found it very, very introspective. I found that the plunge in the deep waters is substantially much more beneficial for you. Just standing on the shores and putting your little thumb in. You know what I mean? I I firmly believe that the mysteries of the universe, the Brahmand ki gehraiyaan, um, always pose a risk. Um, think of it like the ocean, you know. Uh, and of course, it's been said before. But if you're going to go to the depths, you're either going to drown or you're going to float. But most don't want to come back, and most will never be able to come back once you cross to the other side. I don't mean that death, obviously. I mean that this grand understanding of impermanence, that things just happen, that they don't happen to you, they don't happen to anyone else, they just happen. And there's a certain sense of relief in that. Yeah, it's been a deeply introspective year for me. I really want to touch upon this as well since I am here now and I'm in the flow. You'll hear this word a lot, the flow. It's like this continuous stream of ideas that flow, or actions that flow, or I don't know, great music or something, just flow, just this effortless, almost muscle memory sort of takes over, and you just get in the flow. The flow, yes. What I find so particularly fascinating about this theory, that this might have been condensed, many years condensed into one, which it also means, if you believe in Vedic philosophies, if you believe in more esoteric sides, it was the burning of a lot of karma. You know, you burned a lot of karma that you were supposed to burn through a much longer time span. This, of course, seems like everything just happened so fast and one after the other. And oh yes, I was talking about being in one spot. Yeah, I'm very content with where I am. See, the view is beautiful. I mean, of course, not the construction part, but you see the mountains and the rivers, and you see the what is it called, Vimana structure, the temple tops. So there is definitely a serenity that has permeated through my very bones. I feel at peace, I feel content, and I understand now that the things you desperately try to hold on to, or the things that you take for granted, you just go away like that sometimes. So just try to treasure each moment. That's all life is, even the smallest of moments of just sitting and watching the river flow. These are profoundly beautiful moments. If you give your attention to a sunrise or a sunset, if you give your attention to the moving water, it can put you in a very trance-like state, very whole, like you won't feel the heaviness that you would generally feel in your heart otherwise, which is, of course, a result of the existential dread. But yeah, it's very, very fascinating. What I would honestly suggest to a lot of people is, I was talking to Yashashvi as well, most of us need outlets. Now, I know that I've been blessed enough to have, because maybe of the ADHD or maybe something else, but I'm very content with the fact that there's nothing that I can't get into if I really think about it. I can get into I can get into war, I can get into obscure topics and mainstream topics and things like that. And I think that I would consider it almost like an obsession. I have a very obsessive sort of a personality. When I get into a topic, I really need to go to the deepest of the waters to find the oyster. So it is very important for people to have a form of expression that they can give into. Especially conventionally minded people. Let me just sit down. Especially conventionally minded people who have nothing to do with creativity, or who have nothing to do with the creative process. I think there is this dire need that you must sit down and really commit to some form of an art form. It could be drawing, it could be picking up an instrument, it could be photography, it could be anything really, any form of artistic expression. Because art, I think, what I realize is sort of an insight. Art, I think, is almost like a spiritual experience sometimes, because you're taking something abstract, you're taking something from nowhere, and you're creating something out of it. You're creating this image that you see, but not with your eyes. I find that particularly, for example, even dreams for that matter. You see without your eyes, you move without your feet, and there's no particularly scientific, there's no scientific consensus on what dreams really are, whether they're the product of some sort of a repressed consciousness that you see during the day. Maybe it is some mystical landscape that you go to, maybe it's just random imagery from whatever you experience during the day. Anyway, So yeah, dreams are very fascinating that ways because they don't need to. You don't need eyes to see anything, but you see such vivid colors and erratic landscapes made from some madman's bottle of sandust. Um, and you walk and you float and you fly, and profoundly, profoundly fascinating experience. Anyway, art can be very much like that. Not like dreaming, but art can be extremely. It helps you tap into the unconscious, especially if you're making some sort of abstract art or something. And you're really taking something from nowhere and you're creating something out of it. It's like the hand of God, you know. I think I just spoke about it before as well yesterday or something. That all artistic expressions have a very thin line between madness and and you would notice that trend throughout again and again. The tortured artist, you know, the mildly depressive, the manic depressive, the schizophrenic, the paranoid, and they make such outstanding discoveries. John Nash is one of them, the mathematician. The schizophrenic saw a friend and a child, I think, and invented the game theory. So there is definitely a link between intellect, creativity, and madness. And I don't believe that madness is sometimes as simple as saying, you know, go to a mental asylum or start taking medicines or something like that. I think madness, some forms of madness, at least some of them, not the severely impairing ones. I think some forms of madness, what psychology calls madness, what psychiatry calls madness, are just different levels of cognition. I do not think that they are some brain impairment. I mean, some are, of course. There's brain damage influenced issues that can be brought about. There can be schizophrenia. Some schizophrenics can be extremely dangerous to the people around them. Psychopaths can be extremely well, economically they can do wonders for an economy. But of course, personally, they'll wreak havoc in your lives. So I think these are different levels of cognition, and I don't think that some of them are really mental ailments as such. So, see, I lost track of what I was saying, but I find it fascinating that some of them at least stitch together. So I am in a very content, very satisfied mood. I'm not seeking something more. I'm not seeking anything less. I'm perfectly content with where I am. And I'm honestly considering now, with this clarity that I have, that it might very well be time to dedicate myself to my passions. I'm 30 now. I've saved enough money that I want to save. And I'm considering it seriously. Of course, during these tumultuous times, I don't know if choosing your dream might be the right way to go about it, because you got to be a little practical about these things as well, at least monetarily. It's not all fun and games. Or maybe it is if I just learn to submit sometimes. So, seriously considering that. I'm honestly considering writing quite a bit as well these days. I have a few unfinished transcripts that I'll go back to Delhi, I'll write them. For some reason, also I was having this strange the calmness I feel here is the same calmness I've felt in my room for the past few weeks. Maybe it's all internal in the end. Maybe the external doesn't really, it matters less, perhaps, as opposed to the internal. The funny little story. How did I spend my birthday was very fascinating. I shut myself off in my room. Think of it something like Vipassana meditation or something of that sort. I shut myself off in my room. I meditated. I drew, and that was the best time I've had in a very long time. Really. The company of the self. Once the company of the self is satisfactory, I don't think that the company of the other truly makes much of a difference in your life. No, not saying, of course, that you should perpetually be in some sort of self-imposed exile, but it's good to spend time with yourself. It's not as sad as people make out to be sometimes. And it's very good to go inwards, as long as I said, once you enter the ocean, there's always going to be a risk of drowning, and there's always going to be a risk of floating. I mean, the good part is floating. But one thing is certain, which not a lot of people tell you, that once you go to the ocean, you don't want to come back. You can't come back sometimes. So be careful. Meditation and these things are very, very nice and good tools, and psychedelics and God knows whatever else it is that you guys like. These tools are extremely dangerous. Sometimes meditation can be really dangerous as well. So always get into these topics with the help of someone who knows better than you. Like me. No, someone who knows better than you. It's Guru Shishya Parampara for a particular reason. Of course, psychedelics are a different thing. I find the topic particularly boring because the amount of psychoactive substances in our day-to-day lives is just so much. Sugar, caffeine, arey bhaiya, it's just too much. There's a lot of psychoactive substances in your kitchen, in your family. So it's not particularly fascinating for me. These insights, these profound insights that I'm talking about are not on psychedelic doses. These are isolation, self-introspection, or introspection, selfie hota hai, and then leaving and joining the world again, and then taking a break again, going inwards, coming out, going out to the world again, taking a break again, going inwards. It's a pattern, it's a cyclical pattern, and that will do more wonders for you than than anything that can alter your consciousness, I think. So yeah, these are the profound states that we are inhabiting, and I'm particularly enjoying this sort of a quarter-life awakening of sorts, maybe midlife, considering the kind of food and the air that we breathe in Delhi and places like that. We'd be very lucky if we could extend our lives in any substantially beneficial manner at the very least. The last thing a person needs is to die in a hospital. I've seen it too many times. So yeah, enjoy your life. I'm enjoying my first life crisis, or maybe awakening, whatever way you want to look at it. It's been a pleasure having you guys here. I'll vlog again when I feel like it.